Scientists discover the world is ending, then start deciding who deserves to live. A pilot flies through lightning. His cargo? A sealed envelope. Inside, proof the world has just 8 months to live. He doesn't know that yet. He just wants to get paid. But the scientists waiting for him? They know. And they're about to face an impossible question. When you can only save 40 people out of billions, who decides who deserves to survive? His name is David Randall, freelance cargo pilot. Flies anything, asks no questions, gets paid, moves on. When he lands, Dr. Cole Hendron is waiting for him. The astronomer tears open the envelope and studies the photographs inside. His hands shake. David notices something else too. Hendron's daughter, Joyce. Sharp eyes, curious smile, completely unaware that her father just confirmed the end of everything. David takes his money and leaves. He's done his job. But that fear in Hendron's eyes, it sticks with him. It's 1951. The world is healing from war. Cities are rebuilding. Families are moving forward. People look to the stars with hope, not terror. Science is the new frontier. Progress feels unstoppable. But on a mountaintop in South Africa, an astronomer named Sven Bronson sees something that freezes his blood. A star where no star should be. And it's moving, getting closer. He takes photographs, checks his calculations, recalibrates his instruments, again and again, hoping he's wrong. He's not. Bronson sends his findings to Dr. Hendron in America, begging him to verify the data, begging him to warn the world. Hendron gathers his team. They spread the photographs across the table and spend days running calculations, cross-checking trajectories, analyzing every detail. The numbers don't lie. 2 celestial bodies are hurtling toward Earth, a rogue star called Belus and its smaller companion planet, Zyra. In exactly 8 months and 19 days, Belus will strike Earth head-on and obliterate everything. But before that happens, Zyra will pass close enough to Earth that a ship could potentially land on it. If Zyra is habitable, humanity might survive. Might. Hendron takes the evidence to the United Nations. He stands before world leaders with charts, photographs, undeniable proof. He begs them to act, to pool resources, to build a spaceship that can carry survivors to Zyra. They don't believe him. They call it speculation, panic-mongering. One by one, they dismiss him. Hendron walks out alone, carrying the weight of a truth no one wants to hear. If the world won't save itself, he'll have to do it. Which means he needs millions of dollars. Which means he needs someone willing to bet everything on the impossible. He turns to Sidney Stanton, wealthy industrialist, confined to a wheelchair, cold, calculating, cynical. When Hendron shows him the evidence, Stanton doesn't panic. He leans forward and asks one question, "Can you build a ship?" Hendron nods. He's already designed it, a massive rocket-powered ark that can carry passengers and supplies to Zyra. It's humanity's only chance. Stanton agrees to fund the entire project, but he has one condition. He wants the right to select the passengers. Hendron refuses. That's not how this works. Stanton can buy himself a seat, but he's not qualified to play God. Stanton accepts the terms. The deal is made. And somewhere in that handshake, humanity's future is reduced to a number. 40 seats. 40 people, out of billions. Someone has to decide who deserves to live, and that someone is Hendron. Joyce notices David and likes him immediately. She convinces her father to keep him around, finding excuses for him to stay and help with the project. This irritates Dr. Tony Drake, Joyce's longtime boyfriend, a capable physician who sees David as competition. David doesn't know why he's being kept around, but he doesn't question it. He's drawn to Joyce, and slowly, he becomes part of something bigger than any job he's ever taken. Construction begins in a remote desert facility. Hundreds of workers pour in from around the world. Scientists, engineers, laborers, all working around the clock to build the Ark before time runs out. David is put to work flying supply runs and assisting with logistics. He's good at his job, reliable, steady. But he still doesn't understand why Hendron keeps him close. Then disaster strikes nearby. Zira's gravitational pull is already affecting Earth. Tidal patterns shift. Weather becomes unpredictable. A massive flood devastates a nearby town, trapping families on rooftops and high ground. Hendron sends David and Dr. Drake in a helicopter to drop supplies to the survivors. They load up with food, medicine, rope. David pilots while Drake handles the drops. The floodwaters are rising fast. The current is violent. They spot a young boy stranded on a rooftop. The water is rising around him, minutes away from being swept under. David jumps out to save him, trusting Drake to hold position. Drake hesitates, then flies away with the boy, leaving David behind. For a moment, it looks like betrayal, like Drake just decided who deserves to live and who doesn't. But his conscience wins out. He brings the helicopter back. They rescue both the man and the boy. When they return to the base, no one speaks about what almost happened. But Joyce notices the tension between them, and Hendron sees something in David he hadn't fully recognized before. A man who stays calm under pressure, who refuses to leave people behind, even when it would be easier. David isn't just a hired pilot anymore. He's someone they can trust. As construction continues, David and Joyce grow closer. They steal moments together whenever they can, watching the stars, talking about the future, wondering if Zira will really be habitable or if they're all chasing a desperate dream. Joyce tells him about the world she hopes to find there. David listens. And for the first time in his life, he starts thinking about something beyond the next paycheck. He starts thinking about a future with her. But there's a painful reality they can't escape. The Ark can only carry 40 people. Hendron has reserved a few seats, one for himself, one for Stanton, one for Joyce, one for Dr. Drake, one for the pilot Dr. Fry, and one for David. When David finds out, he's stunned. Joyce arranged it. Her father approved it because she wanted him to come. But David feels the weight of it immediately. He's not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's just a pilot. And there are already pilots on the list. Why does he deserve a seat when hundreds of brilliant, essential people will be left behind to die? He confronts Joyce. She tells him she doesn't care about logic or fairness. She wants him there. She needs him there. But David can't accept it. He tells Hendron to give his seat to someone else, someone who actually matters. Hendron refuses. The decision is final. So David makes a choice. He lies. He tells everyone he'll participate in the lottery like everyone else, pretends he doesn't have a guaranteed seat, enters the drawing with the others, hoping fate will decide for him. If his number is called, he'll go. If not, he'll stay behind with a clear conscience. But fate is about to get a lot more complicated, because the world just found out. News of the impending collision leaks to the press. Within days, panic spreads like wildfire. Cities descend into chaos. Riots break out. Governments collapse. People abandon their jobs, their homes, their responsibilities. Because what's the point of tomorrow when there is no tomorrow? Looting, violence, desperation. The thin veneer of civilization cracks wide open. The construction site becomes a target. Desperate crowds gather at the gates, begging to be let in, demanding a chance to survive. Hendron tries to reason with them, but reason doesn't work anymore. Security holds the line. Barely. Tensions rise inside the compound too. Workers who helped build the Ark realize they're not on the passenger list. The people who gave everything to make this ship possible are being left behind. And that's when the real horror sets in. Scientists discovered the world is ending. Now they have to decide who deserves to live. And everyone knows the same terrible truth. Most of the people in this compound won't be chosen. Stanton watches it all unfold with cold clarity. He knew this would happen. He warned Hendron that when people have nothing left to lose, they become dangerous. Quietly, without telling anyone, Stanton begins stockpiling weapons, guns, ammunition, hidden away for when the final days come. He's not going to let a desperate mob keep him from that ship. The lottery becomes a source of heartbreak. Families are torn apart. Every name called is a small relief for one person and a devastating loss for another. Some of the workers who weren't chosen become angry, resentful. They start questioning why they should keep working if they're going to die anyway. Hendron moves up the timeline. The Ark needs to launch sooner than planned. Zira's approach is causing catastrophic damage. Earthquakes, tidal waves, volcanic eruptions. The planet is tearing itself apart. They're running out of time, and the window to reach Zira is closing fast. David works around the clock, helping load supplies, checking systems, doing whatever he can to make sure the ship is ready. But the guilt gnaws at him. Every time he looks at the workers who aren't going, he feels like a thief stealing someone else's future. Joyce sees it in his eyes. She holds his hand and tells him he deserves to be there. But David isn't sure he believes her. The lottery is held in the main hall. Hendron stands at the front with a metal drum filled with numbered tokens. Every person in the camp has been assigned a number. 40 tokens will be drawn. 600 workers built this ark. 40 will board. The rest will stay behind and die. The room is thick with tension. You can hear people breathing, praying, hoping. Hendron reaches into the drum. Metal scrapes against metal. He pulls out the first token and calls the number. Someone gasps. A young woman starts crying with relief. Then the second number, then the third. One by one, futures are decided by blind chance. Some people collapse with joy. Others stand frozen, unable to process that their number wasn't called. A mother and father hold each other as only one of them is selected. She tells him to go. He refuses. She begs him. A brilliant engineer who spent months designing the ship's propulsion system watches as his number is passed over. A teenager with no special skills is chosen instead. It's random. It's brutal. It's the only way Hendron can justify playing God. David's number is called. Joyce breathes a sigh of relief. But the guilt doesn't leave him. He knows what his seat costs. Then there's Eddie Garson and Julie Cummings. Young, in love, planning a future together on Zira. Eddie's number is called. He leaps up, ecstatic, until he realizes Julie's name hasn't been announced. He looks at her. She smiles, trying to be brave, but her eyes are filled with tears. She tells him to go. She tells him she's happy for him. Eddie can't accept it. He walks up to Hendron and places his token on the table. He's giving up his seat. If Julie can't come, he's not going either. The room goes silent. Hendron tries to reason with him, tells him he's throwing away his life, that this is a chance billions would kill for. But Eddie doesn't care. He'd rather die with the woman he loves than live without her. Before anyone can respond, Stanton's assistant Ferris grabs the token Eddie just surrendered. He's been watching, waiting, and now he sees his chance. He pulls a gun and demands the seat for himself. He's spent years serving Stanton, taking orders, being treated like nothing, and he's not going to die because of some romantic gesture. He points the gun at Hendron. Stanton rolls forward in his wheelchair, cold, unflinching. He looks at Ferris and tells him he's a fool. Ferris snaps, turns the gun on Stanton, shouts that Stanton is the fool, an easy man to hate, a selfish tyrant who only cares about himself. Stanton doesn't flinch. He pulls his own gun and shoots Ferris dead. The man crumples to the floor. No one moves. Stanton sits there, gun still in hand, unmoved by what he's just done. Hendron stares at him, horrified. But there's no time to process it. They're hours away from launch. Zyra passes close to Earth, just as Hendron predicted, and the world tears itself apart. The gravitational pull triggers catastrophic tidal waves that swallow entire coastlines. New York floods. The Statue of Liberty disappears beneath churning water. Earthquakes split cities in half. Volcanoes erupt across the planet. Millions die in the chaos. Those who survive know it's only temporary. Bellis is coming in 19 days, and when it hits, nothing will remain. At the construction site, the selected few don cold weather gear, preparing for a planet they've never seen, gambling that it can support human life. Then the mob arrives. Just as Stanton predicted, the workers who weren't chosen realize they're going to be left behind to die. Desperation turns to rage. They storm the compound, seizing Stanton's stockpiled weapons. Gunfire erupts. Bullets ricochet off the Ark's hull. The fence holds them back, barely. Inside, Captain Fry orders emergency boarding. Women first, then animals, then the men. Every second counts. Bellis is visible now, a massive red sphere dominating the horizon. The ground shakes. The launch rail trembles. They're out of time. David helps load the last of the supplies. Joyce boards with the other women, looking back at him, terrified. He gives her a reassuring nod. But inside, he's not sure they'll make it. Dr. Fry offers to wheel Stanton aboard, just as they'd agreed from the beginning. Stanton is ready. He's paid for this seat. He's earned it. This is his moment. But Dr. Hendron steps in. He tells Fry to go ahead and strap in. Hendron will bring Stanton aboard himself. Fry nods and disappears into the ship. The hatch remains open, waiting. Hendron grips the handles of Stanton's wheelchair and begins pushing him toward the boarding ramp. The mob is getting closer. The shooting intensifies. Stanton urges Hendron to hurry. Just a few more feet. The ramp is right there. Then Hendron stops. Stanton looks up at him, confused. Hendron's face is calm, resigned. He tells Stanton something the old man never saw coming. He never intended to board the ship. And neither will Stanton. Stanton's eyes widen in horror. He screams, demands, begs. But Hendron doesn't move. He pushes the wheelchair away from the ramp, back toward the compound. Stanton reaches out desperately, but it's too late. Hendron uncovers a hidden lever and pulls it. The hatch seals shut with a metallic clang. The launch sequence activates. Stanton tries to stand. His atrophied legs barely hold him, but adrenaline surges through his body. He stumbles forward, clawing toward the ship, shouting Hendron's name. But the Ark is already moving, sliding down the track, picking up speed, racing toward the mountain ramp. Hendron watches it go. He turns to Stanton and says quietly, "We're the extra fuel they might need, Stanton. The new world isn't for us. It's for the young." Scientists discovered the world was ending. They decided who deserved to live. And in the final moment, Hendron decided he didn't. The ship climbs the ramp and launches into the sky with a deafening roar. Flames pour from the engines. Inside, the passengers are slammed back into their seats. The G-force crushes them. One by one, they black out. Through the windows, they see Bellis growing larger, closer, inevitable. David loses consciousness just as Earth fills the viewport. When he wakes, his head is pounding. His vision blurs. He blinks and realizes they're still flying. Dr. Fry is at the controls, awake and steady. David stares at him in confusion. Drake said Fry had a heart condition. He said Fry might not survive the launch, but Fry is fine. Perfectly fine. David turns and sees Dr. Drake watching him. Their eyes meet. Drake doesn't need to say anything. David understands now. It was a lie. Drake invented the heart condition to convince David to come aboard, to make sure Joyce didn't lose the man she loved. Drake sacrificed his own happiness for hers. David doesn't know whether to be angry or grateful. Maybe both. Outside the ship, behind them in the void, Bellis crashes into Earth. The collision is instant, absolute. The planet explodes in a flash of light so bright it sears through space. Everything they ever knew, every city, every ocean, every forest, every person left behind, gone, vaporized. Dr. Hendron, Sidney Stanton, the hundreds of workers who built the ship, all of them, erased in a single moment. The passengers who are still unconscious never witness it. They're spared that final image, but those who are awake, David, Fry, a handful of others, see it. They watch their world die. And then there's only darkness. Only Zira ahead. Only the faint hope that they'll reach it before the fuel runs out. The calculations were tight from the beginning. With the extra weight, it seems hopeless. Fry does everything he can, adjusting the trajectory, conserving every drop of fuel. But the gauges keep dropping, the engines sputter, then they die. They're gliding now. No power, just momentum and hope. David unbuckles and moves to the co-pilot seat. Fry looks at him and nods. They both know what this means. David takes the controls. His hands grip the wheel. He's done this before, landing without power, but never in a spaceship, never on an alien planet. The arc drops through Zira's atmosphere. Heat scorches the hull. Metal groans under the stress. The passengers who are awake grip their seats, praying. Joyce watches David, her heart pounding. The ground rushes up to meet them, white, endless, blinding snow. They hit hard. The ship skids across a frozen plain, throwing up massive waves of powder. The hull screeches against ice. They're sliding, spinning slightly, completely out of control. David fights the controls, trying to keep them straight. Someone screams. Then, finally, the ship shudders and stops. They made it. Against every impossible odd, they survived. David helps Joyce to her feet. She's shaking, but she's smiling through tears. Around them, the other passengers begin to stir, checking on each other, realizing they're alive. This is humanity now, this fragile group of survivors, on a ship buried in snow, on an alien world. Captain Fry moves to the hatch. Everyone holds their breath. Someone asks the question they're all thinking. Is the atmosphere breathable? Will they even be able to step outside? Or did they escape one death only to find another? David steps forward. Fry opens the hatch. Cold air rushes in, sharp, biting. David takes a breath. It's cold, unfamiliar, but it's air, real air. He turns to the others and says, "Good air or bad, it's the only air we've got." One by one, they step out onto Zira. The snow crunches under their feet. The sky is a strange shade of blue, different from Earth's. The sun casts unfamiliar shadows across the landscape, but it's beautiful. David and Joyce walk down the ramp together, hand in hand. Behind them, the others follow. Scientists, doctors, engineers, young couples. A small boy clutching his dog. They carry with them everything worth saving from Earth. Knowledge, art, music, literature, love, and the stubborn human refusal to surrender. Whether they've learned anything from the mistakes that destroyed their first home remains to be seen. This film won an Academy Award for its groundbreaking special effects in 1951. The iconic tidal wave flooding New York City was created using a massive miniature set that took weeks to construct and was destroyed in a single take. The final scene showing Zira's landscape wasn't a finished matte painting at all. Due to budget and time constraints, director Rudolph Mattei had to use artist Chesley Bonestell's preliminary color sketch instead. If you look closely at that final shot, you can see what appear to be artificial structures in the distance, hinting that Zira might not be as uninhabited as the survivors hoped. Producer George Pal wanted to make a sequel based on the novel After Worlds Collide, where those structures would have played a major role. But it never happened. If this story reminded you that survival isn't just about saving yourself, it's about what you're willing to sacrifice for others, then hit that like button and subscribe. We bring you the greatest stories from cinema's golden age, and we'd love to have you join us for the next one.
Wow, that was weird.